morning, everyone. We have an important announcement to make. We are filing a federal lawsuit against William Walker and Catherine Speaker. We are filing this federal lawsuit because our rights were violated the 27th Amendment by fining us for not wearing masks on the House floor. And the reason why we are doing this is because people all over this country need segregated with mass vaccines. It's very important for us as members of Congress to stand up against this so that people back at home can do the same thing. Now, being a freshman member of Congress, I was shocked, and I can tell you, shocked. When I first got there on the job on January 3rd, to find out that the Speaker of the House built a COVID box, and I call it a COVID box because it's a box up in the upper corner on the second story of the chamber with plexiglass around it, and it doesn't go up to the ceiling. No, it only goes halfway, with air vents that blow air from the COVID box down to the House floor below. And this is so that Nancy Pelosi can have as many people as possible come to town and vote for her for Speaker of the House because she needed them there. And you know what? We are to the age where Star Trek, beaming people in, people had to fly into town. They were COVID positive, walk through the Capitol, walk all around. They were around people, and they came into the chamber to vote for her for Speaker of the House. So I can tell you for a fact, as a witness with my own eyes, Nancy Pelosi, as Speaker of the House, does not care about COVID-19. All she cares about is control, and that is what the mask is. Another thing, we are not held to fines anywhere but inside the chamber, which is where cameras are, so that she can make sure that she controls people with masks. And so I find it outrageous that we have such a hypocrite, and I call her the queen of the House of Hypocrites, for bringing people to Washington, D.C. at the very beginning of the 117th Congress, exposing all of us to COVID-19 just so she can have the votes to be Speaker of the House. And then she turns around and fines us when after the CDC and after Joe Biden said it was okay to stop wearing your mask. So this is why I'm filing this federal lawsuit. And another thing is it is beyond me why we are mistreating people, segregating people, discriminating against people for masks and vaccines, which should be a choice. I'm not anti-vaccine. I believe in people's freedom to choose to get a vaccine or wear a mask if they want one. And then one more thing. The same day that I received the fine for not wearing masks, the Speaker of the House was on the floor not wearing a mask. So where's her fine is what I'm wondering. So this is going to be something that's very important. I hope all of you will follow, and thank you for your time. And this time I hand it over to
Thank you, Marjorie. It's my honor to be here with Dr. Massie, Congresswoman Greene. You know, this is about freedom. This is about our rights. Nancy Pelosi, as Speaker of the House, has abused her power. It's all about power, folks. It's all about mandating something that she has no right to do. Now, she's weaponized our text. Article 27 is set by law. It's not set by Nancy Pelosi. Article 1, Section 5, Congress can punish you for disorderly conduct. Is it really disorderly conduct by going against a rule that Ms. Pelosi set as she is Speaker of this entire House? And let me ask you this. What if Nancy Pelosi mandates that we all ought to dye our hair blue and wear blue socks? Is that going to be mandated? Is that going to be a fine if we don't do that? This is to stop future abuses of power as she has demonstrated. And as Marjorie said, it's so hypocritical. It's not only what she did about bringing people in to vote for her. They have to go through the lower chambers to get to the third floor, potentially infecting all of them. We all remember the picture of her as she was getting her hair done in the height of the pandemic when she did not have a mask. And the ultimate hypocrisy is the prices we got at the border. They keep saying get vaccinated. We let millions of people, millions a day, come across the border. We don't know what they have. Do they have the Delta variant? Do they have the Lambda variant? What is that doing to the American people? So this is something that we feel strong about. I applaud Congresswoman Greene and Congressman Massie for having the backbone to stand up and to say, we're not taking it anymore. We don't want this to happen to future elected members of Congress. It's time to stand up. It's time to protect our freedoms in this country. Thank you. I call on Congressman Massie.
Thank you. Thank you, Ralph. Marjorie. I think Marjorie summed it up well. You could sum up this whole case in two pictures. These are on the same day in the same chamber. This is Marjorie and Ralph and I. This is Nancy Pelosi. She deducted money from our paychecks. Why? Because we did exactly what she did. We went in there without a mask on. Now there was a rule, and the Constitution says that each chamber shall make its own rules. We voted on it. Yeah, we didn't carry the day. We lost that vote. But then Nancy Pelosi started changing that rule. The Constitution does not say the Speaker can make any rules she wants on any given day, depending on how she feels when she wakes up. No, the chambers, the houses make their own rules. But she started modifying this rule. And then she started down a path that too many people, too many tyrants across this country, too many dictators, many monarchs have started down. She started to try to go down the path of mandatory vaccines. Now before you all get started and say, oh, he's anti-vaccine, vaccine choice is not anti-vax. But she said shortly before we made our stand on the floor, she said, everybody has to wear a mask until everybody gets vaccinated. That's when I realized if we don't take the stand here, they're going to run over us, but not just us. Listen, this case, yes, the plaintiffs are Ralph Norman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie versus Nancy Pelosi and two administrators in this chamber. But this fight is bigger than that. This fight is about the people who are going to work and don't have time to fight. They just want to get on with their lives. But they're being told, and many of them have taken their vaccines, and they're being told, oh, we're going to put masks on your kids now. When they come back to work or to school, they're going to have to wear the face garment, the cloth ones that aren't even proven to do anything. So this fight is about making sure that those rules aren't enforced across this country unfairly without laws. Nancy Pelosi did this by edict. There's no law. She changed this rule on her own. She did it unconstitutionally, just like many of these edicts that come from governors, like my own governor in Kentucky. Many of these edicts have never been voted on. They're unconstitutional. In this case, Nancy Pelosi's fine against us for not wearing a mask violates the 27th Amendment. Clear, plain, simple reading of that amendment to the Constitution shows that. And she goes even further. She's trying to compel our speech. And how do we know this mask rule was just about speech? Because as soon as you walk off the floor, and the cameras can't see you, you can take off the mask. And that's the way it was, and Democrats were doing it too. It's all about theater. There was only two places they really ever tried to enforce the mask rule, in committees and in the chamber. Why? That's the only two places there are cameras. So folks, we're here today not because of $500 in fines, but because the American people need somebody to fight, and they're tired of people who won't fight, and we are going to fight, and we have filed this case this morning. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our lead attorney in this, Chris Weeks.
Good morning. Along with Tom Bruns and Aaron Siri in this law firm, we filed this matter of the United States Supreme Court for the District of Columbia. I'm just going to talk briefly about the claims and allow Tom and Aaron each to offer their thoughts. There are four claims in this lawsuit. The first one, as has been voted this morning, is the 27th Amendment, which provides a relevant part, and I hope you'll allow me to read this. It says that No law varying the compensation for the services of senators and representatives shall take effect until the election of representatives shall have intervened. The rules in question were passed in the 117th Congress. No election has intervened, and yet compensation of these members is being reduced in violation of the 27th Amendment. Count 2 provides that each House may punish its members for disorderly behavior. That was a term that was defined at common law when the Constitution was adopted. That's in Article 1, Section 5. And again, we got video of the days that this occurred. There was no disruption in the House proceedings, so there was no disorderly behavior. Count 3 is in Article 1, Section 6 and Section 7 claim that says the compensation shall be set according to law, and a House resolution is not law. So again, we've got another violation of the U.S. Constitution. Finally, count 4 is a First Amendment claim dealing with help symbolic speech and punishment for engaging in symbolic speech, all of which is protected under the First Amendment, particularly under these circumstances. And we're happy to talk in detail and take questions on the claims themselves, but I'd like to turn this over to my co-counsel, Tom Bruns, at this point, to offer some of his thoughts.
So Chris gave you a nice summary of the legal issues of the case, and the beauty of this case is the simplicity of the facts, which frankly are not in dispute. We have pictures, we have video, okay? And then the law is very plain and simple, and I love this background here, this backdrop, because that's why I'm here, and I know that's why these Congress folks are here. It's the rule of law. The rule of law is under assault in this country, and there are a whole lot of people who believe that some are above the law, but they're not. The beauty of our system is that even the third-ranking political leader has limits on her power. And some debates, some issues have been taken off the table. The 27th Amendment takes certain issues off the table. The First Amendment takes certain issues off the table. So we don't get to debate the wisdom of finding these good people because they wouldn't engage in the majority's symbolic speech. You can't do it. And that's why we're here. And ultimately these issues are going to get decided in the courts because we live in a republic, and God bless that we do. Because at the end of the day, it is not up to one elected official to change the law. We're here to enforce it. Thank you.
I'm not sure there's a lot more to say. I would like to think that this won't be reported as part of the issue today. But unfortunately, probably will be, no, it shouldn't. Everybody should understand that our elected representatives should not be able to have pressure applied to them unduly by one of the other parties. Their compensation shouldn't be held hostage to what the majority in the chamber views are. And that's exactly what happened here. That shouldn't happen irrespective of who's in power. And this lawsuit is intended to assure that that doesn't happen. Not in this case, and not in the future. Thank you. Go ahead, Marjorie's going to add one more thing, and then we'll take your questions.
Just wanted to add one more thing. When we had our hearings with the House Ethics Committee, the first thing I stated to the committee, which is 5 Democrats and 5 Republicans, is I said to 4 of the 5 Democrats on the committee that they had signed their name on a resolution to expel me from Congress. That did not say I had broken a law or that I had done anything wrong. It just says that I should be expelled from Congress. 4 out of the 5 Democrat members on the House Ethics Committee already had their name on that resolution. I asked them to recuse themselves. After all, they are on the Ethics Committee, and you would think it would be ethical for them to recuse themselves, and they refused. So you see, this is political. It's always political, and that's the way the Democrats are running things. And so I just wanted to add that in and make sure that's known. Thank you.
Anybody have questions? Yes, sir.
Congressman, what does it mean that a member of Congress has to file a federal lawsuit with the courts to get a rule changed on the floor of the Congress?
So his question was, what does it mean that a member of Congress has to file a federal lawsuit?
You're a lawmaker,
to
sir.
get a change of the rules. But the problem is that it's a violation of the Constitution. We're not debating House rules in this court proceeding. We're debating the Constitution. We just want the Constitution applied. And she has changed the rules, for instance. And as I said before, the Constitution says each House shall make the rules of its proceedings. It does not say the Speaker shall. And there's no other authority here to appeal this to. It has to go to the courts, unfortunately.
So some judges have upheld things like vaccine mandates, for example, at Indiana University. Is there something different about your situation?
It's not a vaccine mandate. There was a rule that required a mask in Congress. So there was no requirement for me having a vaccine. No. I will note that the rule didn't provide that those who had immunity, those who had COVID, didn't have to wear a mask. It didn't count for that time. In fact, even those who had vaccines sometimes have to wear a mask as well. So it didn't count for that time. He makes a great point that needs to be made, that a footnoter is noted in the lawsuit that the CDC said if you're vaccinated, you don't need to wear a mask. She continued on with that. But furthermore, the CDC refuses to ignore natural immunity, which they refer to as already been infected. And we're not in any way, shape, or form advocating that you should get infected instead of taking the vaccine. But science dictates that if you're going to require immunity, you have to acknowledge natural immunity as well. And it was clear she was going down the path of requiring vaccines for every member of Congress. You can go look at her own work 4 days before we went to the floor without our mask. She said, tell everybody here gets vaccinated. She did not say, tell everybody here has immunity. So again, that has become sort of a religion, something political, and it's a denial of science.
Congressman Massie, you've been among the loudest voices challenging the CDC. Are you raise important questions, but are you concerned that your sort of this constant drumbeat and your opposition to the Dr. Fauci, others, that it might be leading to vaccine hesitancy in your community? Right now in Kentucky, less than 50% of the state is vaccinated.
Well, nobody should take advice from a bureaucrat or a politician. And the longer they've been in D.C., the less you should trust them. Okay? So you can tell me where that puts Dr. Fauci on the scale. You should go talk to a doctor, your family doctor, somebody that's going to be responsible for caring for you, not just 30 minutes after the vaccine is administered, but 30 days or 3 years after the vaccine is administered. Go get advice from a medical professional that you know. Don't take it from me, don't take it from any of us. And that's the message that I want to have.
You all have, the real message here is what's next for this election. If she's not challenged here, what other needs should she pass? It's not about getting the vaccine or not getting the vaccine. And that's called freedom for each American to choose themselves. This is about stopping an abuse of power that has been a pattern throughout the speakership of Ms. Pelosi. And if not now, when will we challenge? So that's why I'm so excited about this lawsuit. Do I like lawsuits? No. But there is a time to fight. There is a time to challenge. And now is that time. And I'm just glad I took Colleen for willing to do so.
I'd like to address the issue about misinformation. I'm a big believer in the people and them being able to make up their own mind, because I believe that people are smarter than anyone gives them credit. And, you want to talk about misinformation, I think we should hold our social media accountable, because they are not in charge of deciding which information should be distributed and which information should not be distributed. As a matter of fact, there's people that have a lot of stories to tell about their experience. They may have had side effects and bad experiences with the vaccine, but yet their stories are canceled, and their stories are not heard in the media. So I challenge you, the media, who has the information, you guys hold the microphone and the pen and ink to distribute information. I challenge you to tell those stories. And then I also challenge you to tell the stories and ask for investigations of why over 6,000 people have been reported to have died on their system, on the CDC. So you see, everyone has the right to all information, not just some information. And you can't point your finger at any of us and say that we're spreading around misinformation when Dr. Fauci is the one that has switched back and forth on what his advice is. And by the way, none of us elected that man to make decisions on how our country should be run, how our businesses should be run, and how our children should be treated in the schools that we pay taxes for them to be educated in. So do not ask us and point fingers at us on misinformation when you yourself are the ones that are in charge of the information at hand. Challenge people. Challenge Facebook, Twitter, and say, why? Why are you censoring some stories and then telling others? Challenge the VAERS system. Challenge CDC. Why are these deaths not being investigated? Let people make up their own mind. This is America, where we're supposed to be free. At least we think we are. And for that, I'm going to wrap this up.
What do you attribute then to there being a large amount of vaccine hesitancy in red states among white Republican men specifically?
I don't do race, ma'am. I'm not going to play that game. Just so you know, I think that's out here. We're talking about a virus that doesn't target skin color. We're talking about a virus that makes people sick and people have died. We're also talking about people having the ability to choose. It is their right to choose. And there's, you never want to talk about the, I don't know, tens of millions, what is it, over 30 million people that tested positive for COVID and survive. Let's talk to those people. That's immunity also. That's called natural herd immunity. And why are they not allowed to have that? Why is it one way and not the other? Why does the Governor Cuomo think he can go up to people's doors, drag them out of the house, put them in a car, and take them to the shot? Because that's what he said. Why do you have cities out in California saying that if someone refuses to wear a mask, they have to wear a sticker saying whether they're vaccinated or not? Let's talk about segregation and discrimination. Those are the issues.
Our governor in Kentucky has engendered no trust by sending state troopers to churches to write down license plate numbers. And then he wants people's trust after that? I don't think so. But listen, as our attorney said, the facts really aren't in dispute in this case. I want to leave you with two things. The fact, there's video of everything that happened that day that we were fined. So go back and check it. Nancy Pelosi with without a mask too. We think we're going to prevail in this case. We think it's going to be a groundbreaking decision on a constitutional issue that frankly hasn't been tested. But this case is much more than that. We are fighting not because the litigants, the plaintiffs, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Ralph Norman, and Thomas Massie have been fined $500. And by the way, the prime defendant was Nancy Pelosi. We are taking on this fight for Americans. We're taking on this fight for people who have been abused by their governors, by their mayors, by any of the miniature tyrants that exist across this country. We're trying to do what Nancy Pelosi has done. She is the queen of hypocrisy, and we're standing up to her today, and that is why we have filed this lawsuit. And I'll make a copy of it available to anybody who wants it. It was filed. It's already been filed in the court, and great to have you here today. Thank you.